thanks everyone for being here. We have a lot of exciting things to talk about. A few different sports here, some student athletes I'd like you to meet. First off, though, we would like to say, I don't know actually if the word is correct, but they always say Happy Veterans Day. But what I would like to say is thank you to the veterans. And I don't know, are there any veterans in the room today? Any veterans? Thank you very much. So on this Veterans Day, we appreciate you coming out. And now getting to our sports. Obviously, you probably all know by now, our soccer team lost yesterday in the Big Sky Championship match. They played a great semifinal, winning there, getting to the Big Sky Championship against Weber State. And they lost in penalty kicks. And this brings out my personal bias against all postseason tournaments. I hate postseason tournaments, but it's not up to me. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out a little bit about how the basketball and volleyball coach feel about those. But it seems like if you go all season and you beat everybody, you should go to the playoffs, the NCAA playoffs. But that's my personal opinion. So anyway, but a tremendous season by our women's soccer program. 12-4-3, went undefeated in the regular season, so congratulations to them. Next up will be volleyball. I want to talk a little bit about volleyball. They are on a run right now. I think they've won their last 5 in a row, 6 in a row, 5 in a row. Right now, 13-3 in the Big Sky Conference. They play maybe the match of the year on Thursday night against North Dakota. North Dakota is in first place at 14-2. Portland State second place, 13-3. I'll let you do the math if the Vikings can win there. But 4 matches remaining. So a very big match in terms of trying to win the Big Sky Conference Championship this year. And with that, and also the Vikings play Northern Colorado on Saturday. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our volleyball coach, Michael Seemann.
2 weeks ago, I was in front of you talking about kind of where we were at in the season, and I think we had just come off a split off the weekend on the road. We've been in the comforts of the Stout Center, which has been good for us in my career here. And it kind of came through this weekend as well. And we saw a very good opponent in Northern Arizona on Saturday. Northern Arizona was sitting just 1 loss behind us at the time. And they're a very, very skilled team. And if you recall, our first loss of the season came at their hands at their place in 3. So we were very happy to be able to have the opportunity to play that team at home. And after losing the first set, a very, very controlled first set, we lost by 2. We pretty much took over from there and won the next 3 from there. As Mike mentioned, there's a very important weekend coming up for us. We're hosting 2 of the best, in my opinion, 2 of the hottest teams in the conference right now. So to give you a little background, North Dakota, as he said, is in first place with 2 losses, and the most recent loss coming this weekend from Northern Colorado. So as you can imagine, I've got 2 very good teams coming in the South Center this weekend. And certainly on paper, both of them are the 2 very offensive teams. Interesting thing that's kind of development throughout the season this year is we have not had a player of the week in the conference. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, and one of the things I told our SID, Ryan McCall, was, let's stay under the radar. And obviously he has to nominate somebody, and he does. But to give you an idea as to how balanced this team is, and the job that one of our seniors, Garen Schlatter, is doing, is that nobody has really stood out as a significant or a leader where we've had to lean on them every single night. We've had productive nights from a lot of different kids, and that's a great credit to our first contact, first of all, our libero, Cassie Clark, and also our setter in Garen Schlatter. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I think that's lending itself to us being the most consistent team in the conference, which has us leading, 8 out of the 10 categories in all the statistics. And so we know the most important statistic for us at this point is the W, so that's something that we're going to have to battle for this weekend. So, but there's four teams left in conference. 3 of those 4 teams are the top 4 teams in the conference. So going to Idaho State has not been easy for us, and that's the following weekend as well. But ultimately, I think we're looking forward to being at home for the Big Sky tournament weekend. One of the things that we've, I think, identified is we're offensively anemic a little bit, and that's something we identified early. We're not putting up a lot of big numbers. We put up a lot of kills, but we don't have a high hitting percentage, which means that we're keeping the ball in play, and for us to score points, it's taking 1 or 2 or 3 rallies. And so we are earning what we would call defensive points. So we often keep the ball in play, at least hit intelligently. That forces the other team to become more predictable, and then we capitalize on that with blocking or another transition swing. So what I had to do is I kind of had to tip the scales or the rulers of how we measured our outsides by offensive production. And that's ultimately what we're deciding on right now is we've got some consistent passers that we can lean on, and those people have earned those roles and they keep them. But right now, we're looking at basically who's putting away, who has the most terminal swings. And it's held pretty consistent up to this point that both Kaylee and Jacqueline have been, putting away the most terminal swings, and that's what we're going to stick with until. But they battle in practice every time we're back in the practice gym. That's something that they have to consistently uphold. So, good question. What he's saying is that basically there's rotations where our top hitters in Kaylee Patton and Aubrey Mitchell are off the floor or they're in the back row, and I guess the most logical thing to do would put those two hitters opposite of each other, so at least one of them is always in the front row of any given rotation. We design our rotations by serving strength, which is something that is, I think, not a concept that a lot of coaches are willing to do. And we have to look at our best servers behind our best blockers, because that is our strength. It always has been, and we continue to do that. We spend a lot of time in practice working on those very rotations where they are not part of the offense. And that's asking more from Katie O'Brien, who's not necessarily a typical offensive player. It's asking more from Jacqueline, who is not, hasn't been as offensive. It's also creating plays where, we can use Pinky out of the back row, Kaylee out of the back row as well. But yeah, it's a very good question, and that ends up being some weak rotations where we sit in those rotations for longer. It's also asking more from Garen Schlatter as an attacker. If you notice, sometimes she puts it over on two or dumps. It's called dumping. That's something that we also ask more of her, so her attempts are increased in those rotations as opposed to relying on a hitter.
Next up is our women's basketball coach, Sherri Murrell. The women's basketball team, already 2 exhibitions, and their season opener yesterday lost to St. Mary's, a good St. Mary's team. And now they have a little time off to prepare for a number of home games coming up. And we will hear right now about women's basketball and what Sherri Murrell has learned about her team.
2 exhibitions. What I've learned about our team so far, I really like them, to be honest with you. I just am really enjoying coaching this team. I think I mentioned at our last luncheon that I like our chemistry. I could already feel it. I think they work extremely hard, and we have some things to shore up. And we had 2 exhibitions against teams that are very good. When Simon Fraser asked to play us, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? They're very good, and they're very athletic. And then George Fox University is a very seasoned team. They had all their players except one return. Even though they're a lower division than us, they're just well coached. They bring a lot of different things to the table that we learned a lot of ourselves from. So we had 2 very strong exhibition teams that we played, and I feel that we passed the test in most ways. Things that we need to get better at, we just have to. There were some things defensively I thought we needed to get better at, and I think we took steps forward the other night. And then also, our offense. It worked really well in the Simon Fraser game. Is we went inside. Against George Fox, they play a crazy kind of Sac State style, so you don't get to really see your offense as well as you want to. But then we played last night at St. Mary's. And St. Mary's, I don't know what they feed them up in Moraga, but they probably could play for the football team. They're so big. But they don't have football, so maybe that's why that is their football team. But we were expecting them to take the inside away, and they're just too big and powerful. And unfortunately, I was not pleased with my team's response to our coaching in the first half, because we said, don't try to pass it inside from the high-low. We run a high-low offense, and Allie must have had 3 or 4 turnovers trying to get the ball into Keaton. And that wasn't our attack. Our attack was supposed to be from the perimeter. So we finally, at halftime, I don't know why, but halftime they clicked in their head that, I think this is probably what we should do, Coach. So they come out, and you saw, I think it was a 24-something run. And it was amazing. It was a 3-point ball game. It could have been a 1-point ball game if Keaton, after that beautiful block, comes down and makes that lay-in. And they just showed some fight in them. They showed a lot of, we obviously attacked from the outside, which we were asking them to do. Really wanted our shooters to shoot. We finally knocked some down. But after that long run, and if we played like that in the first half, I don't think we would be down by 20. But we came back, and I was really proud of them. We got cold, and then they just never got uncold. I mean, that team was pretty amazing. They'll probably either finish 1, 2, or 3 in a very good conference, and probably should be at the NCAA. And that's why, I mean, we want to play these teams. I'm not sure what's going to shake up at the end of the year. If we're going to, I hope to win every one of them. I'm not a moral victory person. So many people said, "Oh, you guys did so great," and I said, "We lost still." But I think again, we're looking at growth. How are we growing, and then get to conference. And when we get to conference, we want to win this thing based on what we did in this preseason. Tough to go against St. Mary's and the big kids when we had 2 of our post players out, and that's Michaela Rivard and Angela Misa. Angela Misa's knee is great as far as her ACL injury, but it's her hamstring that she pulled, and it's one of the things you have to be very careful about when you come back from an ACL, is the hamstring. And so we may have been able to put her in, but I don't think that's you always want to put players in positions to succeed, and I don't think she would have been successful out there, and we could have risked more injury with her. But with these 12 days before our next game, I think she'll definitely be back. And then Michaela Rivard, I was here at this luncheon. I left practice early. Remember that? And I said, "We are healthy. There's no injuries." Michaela Rivard, as I'm speaking, she's back at the practice where I was missing, rolled her ankle really bad. It was a grade 2. They even thought it was a fracture, but it's not. So she'll be back for Seattle as well. So those 2 young ladies will be back, and that's going to make a big difference. Really, Delaney Perry is ready to contribute. She's a fantastic ball player. And she's a freshman, so she's still learning the plays and everything. But I think she'll probably see a lot more time on the floor early in the season. I think Lauren Holt, right now she's a little jittery shooting-wise, but she's a fantastic rebounder and defender. So I think you'll probably see more of those 2 early on. And then Ani Evanescen, she's the junior college transfer that we've moved to the post by default. But we might just keep her there, but you'll see some more minutes of her as well. But I was really pleased with all of our freshmen. And then Uremi last night, I loved she came in and she just picked a pocket and got her first 2 points of her collegiate career. But Keaton McFadden has really shown some growth. It was really hard for her. She was almost in tears after the game. She's like, felt like I couldn't do anything. I said, "Well, I couldn't even see you." She was just swarmed by those big girls. But Allie Brock, I think Allie is just doing a fantastic job. She's really taken some senior leadership this year and doing a great job. And, of course, obviously Kate Lands. She helped us get back into the game with her play last night. And I really she's getting everybody involved. Last year she kind of, in the beginning, she would just try to do it on her own. And we've had one statistic I look for a lot is the assist at the end of the game. And we've had 16, 18 assists, which it says that we have a really good team ball.
I got to live stream the men's basketball game against UNLV, and the men's basketball team came out and played tremendous in the first half when you consider the injuries they had. Aaron Moore finally got back, was instantly in foul trouble, and hardly even played in the game. But we saw a lot of great things that Tyler Geving has spoken about. Tim Douglas played great. The big guy, Brandon Cataldo, came in and played well. Kyle Richardson, I'm taking away some of his words. But basically, that Friday night in Pocatello, that was the most exciting thing to do, is to sit in my hotel room and look at the computer. And I could actually yell at the computer because I wasn't sitting on press row. But the Vikings actually had a couple shots at the rim right at the end of the half to take the lead into halftime. They went into halftime down by a point. And then in the second half, didn't shoot it very well, and UNLV slowly pulled away. But, boy, you could see a lot of really good things there. And now up to talk about it, they're playing Wednesday night against PLU in the Stotts Center, and then November 22 through 24, big tournament at the Stotts Center. To talk about his men's basketball program is Tyler Geving.
Yeah, when I was here a couple of weeks ago, speaking of injuries, Aaron Moore was out a couple of weeks. Had a little disc problem. They put 2 needles in his back, and that seemed to heal him up. But he practiced all last week. He's just trying to get the rust off him, get back into shape. But we're all know what he's capable of doing. He had a tough night the other night. He fouled out in 15 minutes, and they're calling it a lot closer, that's for sure. Like Sherri said, that's kind of a point of emphasis in basketball this year. So unfortunately for him, he did not play well. But the good news is his back's feeling a lot better. We just got to get him back into shape. So Gary Winston, talked about him with the hernia surgery. He's been practicing a little bit. Ideally, I don't know if he'll play Wednesday, probably kind of see how he does today and tomorrow, but definitely for the tournament we'll have him back, so that's a positive. Zach Gangler had been out. He practiced a couple days before the Northwest Christian game, so now he's back and kind of healthy again. So we're making some strides there, which is good. And then Tigby Bamba, TB, is getting closer to getting out there and practicing, and hopefully get him back by about mid-December. So we're slowly but surely getting healthy. Northwest Christian game, I thought in that game, defensively we were pretty good. They had 3 Division I kickbacks, which I was a little nervous about, and one of them was an all-state player. Went to Oregon, and Spencer Coleman was a starter in Montana last year. I mean, they had some players, so I thought defensively we did some good things in that game and came out and up 23 at the half, and thought we played really well. The other night at UNLV, same thing. I think defensively, our energy level, how hard we played, can't fault the guys at all there. I think in the first 2 games, that's been encouraging. We've really tried to improve our defensive effort, our rebounding effort. We were even on the boards with UNLV, and if you saw their starting 4 and starting center, borderline pros, and I thought our guys did a great job of matching up with them. So a lot of positives from that. I'm excited about where we're going. Obviously Wednesday we need a win against PLU, and then we kind of have about 8 or 9 days off before our tournament. So kind of get through Wednesday, and then we kind of got to regroup as we're getting guys back and start having some good practices and getting everybody gelling together before our tournament.
Okay, now we get to the best part of the day, and that is meeting the student athlete. It's really an honor to work with a lot of these young people, and I can tell you about 99% of the people that we get to work with are outstanding, and that's way better than the general overall population. So we're doing really, really well. We're going to talk about the offensive line. People were asking me to nominate players of the week and things like that for the conference and a variety of other things, and I finally decided I've always loved this group because year in and year out, I think, under Brad Davis, this has been our most consistently productive position, and I think you'll all agree with that. Our offensive line has been outstanding for several years. We've got a couple young men here to represent that, and I would just like to throw a couple stats at you. Number one, we're averaging 275 rushing yards per game, and that ranks 4th in the nation. We have already broken the school record for total rushing in 10 games. We set it 2 years ago. We had a pretty good group then, guys by the name of McCaffrey and Kavanaugh. They were pretty good. But this group has already broken that record in 10 games, and that's pretty remarkable. And the second item is they have allowed 4 quarterback sacks all season, and that ranks 1st in the nation. Fewest sacks allowed of any team in the nation. And you may say, well, you run the ball a lot. Yes, we do. We have thrown 284 passes. We've only given up 4 sacks. So that is a remarkable number as well. So they really know what they're doing. All right, first off, they're going to get up here and just say a few words. And if you have a question, feel free to ask. I'm going to go with the youngster of the group, and that will be the junior, Cornelius Edison. He's from University Place, Washington. He's going to just stand up here and tell you a little bit about himself.
I just want to thank you guys for having me out here. It's a real honor. And I'm Cornelius Edison, like you said, University Place, graduated in 2011, art practice major here at Portland State. And it's been a real honor working with Coach Burton and playing with Mitch Van Dyke. Shown me a lot this year. And I really like the O-line because we have a great bond, great chemistry. And it's always fun playing with these guys day in, day out, going to practice, having fun with everybody and competing. And I really think that's what's helped our success this year is just competing within the group, seeing who can get the most knockdowns. Me and Mitch always the head of the O-line, which is pretty nice. And we have great leadership in the group. Mitch Gulke is a senior, our center, 66. And we have guys like Cam Kaiser and Kyle Smith, 2 redshirt freshmen who have been dominating the conference this year. It's been really nice. And it's been great working with these guys. Thank you.
All right, now I'm going to take just a moment here so Andy in the back can widen out the video screen just a little bit because we're going to bring up the biggest guy on the team, and that is senior. It's Mitchell Van Dyke. He is from Paso Robles, California, been a starter on the offensive line for about 3.5 seasons now. Mitchell Van Dyke.
Hey, how's everyone doing? Thanks for inviting me to this luncheon. Really appreciate it. Never been here before, but it was awesome meeting everyone around here. Again, Mitchell Van Dyke. I'm from Paso Robles, a little small town in California. I'm a senior. It's my 5th year here, so I'm a super senior. My major is criminal justice, and talking about this year, going into my 5th year here, this is by far the best team I've been around. Not saying the other teams weren't as good. It's just like the chemistry that the O-line and the entire team has. Like this summer, just meeting up with everyone, you know, outside of football was not mandatory at all, but we all did it. We're having a barbecue. Actually, I think it's today, right, or tomorrow. We're all going to meet, and Coach Burton didn't even assign that we did. And I don't know, this year we just have to finish strong. We're on our second stretch of the season, like Coach Burton said, they get to that third, you know, the playoffs. So right now we're just looking forward to next game. I know it's senior day, but hopefully I get to play at home again besides this Saturday.
Do you guys have a nickname for yourselves on the line?
We have 2. We recently we've been calling ourselves the Axemen. That's what we want to go at, but we also have a OLP, O-line Pride. So.
How do you find as a 5th year? How do you find the academic system at Portland State, and do you get the support you need as an athlete from an athletic support standpoint?
Oh yeah, definitely. School comes first by far before football. Our O-line coach, Brad Davis, Coach Burton, addresses it. That's the main thing. And being here 5th year, like, I love it. Like, the academics is great at Portland State by far.
We will move right along to the head coach now, and very happy to report we have won 3 in a row. We're now at 6-4 in the conference. We have Sacramento State coming up this Saturday at Gerald Wynn Field, and we're going to get number 4. That's what Nigel Burton tells me. So he's going to tell us how he's going to get it done right here. Nigel Burton.
I thought that was an awesome question about academics here at Portland State because we do take it very seriously. And that's how we recruit, as we talk about how we're one of the there's the Princeton Review does schools in the country, and they put it by tier. If you're tier 1, you're one of the top 10% of schools in the country. Tier 2 is 11 to 20. And public universities in the Northwest, if you go Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, there's only 3 public universities that are Tier 1 universities. The University of Oregon, University of Washington, so my degree still means something, and Portland State, and that's it. And so that's how we recruit. We talk about the things that will set our guys up when they're done playing here. And I think our guys realize early in their careers how very seriously we take academics. And I get them to understand that as a college football coach, you don't get into college coaching because you love winning, and you definitely don't do it for money, as my bank account tells me usually. But you do it because you want to see young men grow, and you want to see them use the game, not have the game use them. And so there's some guys who have a lot of talent on our team who maybe don't get as many plays as you would anticipate if I'm a fan because they didn't handle something academically. And usually it takes maybe a half a season for them to figure out, like, no, this is important to us. This is not lip service to us. And then after that, it's usually not a problem, right, Mitch? I think they get the picture when they're watching other guys run around, though they think they're a better player. And they buy in, and then it's not a problem, which is why I think we've broken our own APR, academic progress record. I think 3 years in a row we've broken our own record, and in addition to rushing records and all those different things, and our graduation rate's so high. So it's very cool. So I appreciate that question. I remember as well the last time we were here, and trying to tell people, relax, it'll be okay. There's not going to be some mass exodus of guys going out, don't freak out. We'll be fine.
And 3 weeks later, 3 games in a row, bang, bang, bang. And like I said, that was one thing I learned from Coach Riley, working for him for 5 years, was you couldn't tell whether we were 5-1 or 1-5 based on his demeanor, based on the leadership that he gave as the head football coach. I try my best to just try to mimic that part. And so I try to tell these guys all the time, like, there's nothing to freak out about. We got to continue to get better, fix those little things, and that's what happened. The thing I love about those videos too is you see guys like Nate Tongo and Thomas Carter and all those guys score. When they hit the sideline, the first guys giving them high fives are defensive tackles and DBs. Or DJ Adams was the first one to congratulate Nate Tongo when he scored, and that's the same position. DJ could have taken the attitude like, wait a minute, man, you just took a touchdown from me. I'm the guy with 1,200 yards. I'm the senior. I'm the guy trying to get to the NFL, and you just took one of my stats. And instead, he's the first one. And so, kind of talking about that chemistry that Mitch was talking about, those are things we're constantly preaching to these guys. I think that's the difference you see between last year's team and this year's team. Talent-wise, I think we're relatively the same. But I think they learned from last year that a group of individuals will lose. It doesn't matter how talented you are. You have to be a team. You have to play together. You have to sacrifice for each other. And our game is different. In our game, and it's no offense to any other game, but in our game, if you don't do your job, people get hurt. Literally. People get smoked. That's just how it goes. And so they've really bought into those things. We talk about next man up. We got to Idaho State. We were excited to play. It's a place that's been tough for Portland State. I think we've only won there. Luckily, we've been 2-0 since our staff's been here, but before that, previously 14 years, only one team had won there, which is surprising. And so it was a game we jumped out early, and then that next man up principle kicked in pretty strong. We had our fourth string snapper in, because we're already going in with our backup. He gets hurt. Then the backup to the backup got hurt. So we're down to our 4th-string snapper. We had our 3rd-string punt returner. We had I'm going down the list. I mean, we had guys put in positions they hadn't even had a chance to practice. And the guys came through. And it was really cool to see. I think, like I said, very proud of this football team. We're 3-0 in our second season. We got 2 more games, obviously, with Sac State. And then the Dam Cup with Eastern at their place. Sac State's a very good football team. They are a mirror image of us offensively. They run the pistol. They want to run the ball down your throat. And so we're going to have to show that we're the experts in what we do, and we're the best at what we do. And so I put a lot on these 2 guys to lead OLP and make sure guys understand they're the best offensive line in the country. I'm not afraid to say that publicly. You can tape that. And I do. I believe that. And I brought these 2 guys too because, we talked about DJ Adams, but, in the end, we ran for 395 yards last weekend, Saturday against Idaho State. 3 of the top 6 rushing performances in the history of the school have happened this year with those 2 guys and their compadres. So we've broken the records. We've, like I said, UC Davis, Eastern Oregon, and now Idaho State are 3 of the top 6 performances in 1 year. I think is pretty amazing. It really speaks to the work ethic these guys have. And I love Mitch's sentiment that he's not looking for this to be his last game, home game. So no pressure, Torrey. We're gonna have to get that bid up and make sure that we're ready to go. We've got work to do on our end. But the best part is, you look at our team. We've only got 14 seniors on us. Out of 115 kids on our team, we have 14 seniors. Everybody else is back. We'll have 9 returning starters on offense, 7 or 8, depending upon how you count it, on defense, and all our specialists back. So, I think not only are we in the present, but I think the future is also bright. It's funny. I remember when we recruited Cornelius. Mitch was here when we got here, and really bought into the change in system. I think all the old linemen loved that change in system. He's like, wait a minute, I don't have to pass block against guys that are 200 pounds anymore, or 220. I can just grind them up. Well, we went to Cornelius's house and watched him on film, and he was a good player. I wouldn't say a great player necessarily. I'll be honest. I don't think he was great, but he did everything. He was on. I think he was on every single snap at Curtis High School except kickoff. You didn't do kickoff. Everything else, punt team. Did you punt return every night? Not actually catch the punt return, but he was on punt return. But you never see a big guy on punt return. He was on kickoff return. He started on offense and defensive line. And he kind of started to watch the film, and I'm like, he's athletic. I think he's just not always finishing because he's tired. He's just not coming off the field. So we go to see him, and I was like, if this guy's like over 250, I think we're going to have to pull the trigger. So we pull up in the driveway, and I see this grown man standing in the doorway, but I can't really see his face. I'm like, oh, that must be his dad. And Coach Jackson goes, nah, that's him. And I go, I'm in love. Yeah, this is a done deal. And then his mom made the craziest spaghetti of all time, right? Pound on that one. And it was done, sealed. It was over. So, and he went from being a Vike to a Vike because Curtis High School with the Vikings. So we made that transition easy. That being said, hey, thank you so much once again, like Sherri said, for the support. And I'm sure your trust never wavered, right? As far as we all know. And just keep believing and keep pushing these guys because they're looking for great things to happen. And it ain't over, regardless of what the Oregonian says. If you do the research, and I'm not sure if I said this before, if you look at the NCAA playoffs last year, 20 teams made it. 11 of the 20 had 7 or 8 wins. And now the playoffs expanded to 24. So we're hoping to just keep taking steps. But we got to get through this week first. So thank you again, and go Vikes.
Thank you all once again. Men's basketball, Wednesday night volleyball, Thursday and Saturday night football, Saturday afternoon, and I'm sure something else will come up too. Thank you.